Hello friends, welcome back to my channel Mukesh English, and this is Mukesh Soni. Friends, in this video we are going to have the discussion of the syllabus of first semester BBA General English under Bangalore University, and it's a new syllabus which has been implemented from 2024, from the year 2024, and it is the SCP syllabus. So let's have the discussion of the first semester BBA General English syllabus under Bangalore University. So let's have a glance at the whole syllabus. You have here 8 chapters and 5 important topics from the language components. The 8 chapters are In Sayadri Hills, A Lesson in Humility by Sudha Murthy, The Open Window by Saki, The Night Train at Dioli by Ruskin Bond, Sporting Spirit by George Orwell, Reunion by John Cheever, Who Can Be Called a Great Man by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou, The Happy Man by Edgar Albert Guest. So prose and poetry has the weightage for 50 marks. Language components, you have 5 important language components: comprehension passage, listening skills, language functions, and brief grammar, and the speech writing. Language components here refer to the 30 marks. So totally, you will have the question paper for 80 marks, and 20 marks will be for the internal examination or the internal assessment. So now let's have a discussion very briefly about each and every chapter of first semester BBA General English under Bangalore University. So prose and poetry, 50 marks, and under this we have the very first chapter, In Sahyadri Hills, A Lesson in Humility by Sudha Murthy, the famous person, the famous lady who has been the co-founder of Infosys. And this is a very thought-provoking essay which reflects the author's experiences in the remote Sahyadri Hills. It focuses on the lessons of simplicity, humility, and contentment. That's about In Sayadri Hills, A Lesson in Humility by Sudha Murthy. And I'm also doing the videos on the summary of each and every chapter. So you can also go through the playlist of first BBA. You can find all the videos summary and the question answers videos. Then the lesson number 2, The Open Window by Saki. Now, who is Saki? H. Munro. H. Munro was a British novelist and the short story writer, and who wrote his stories under the pen name, under the nickname or the pen name Saki. So Saki's original name is here H. Munro, and this story, The Open Window, it demonstrates a mischievous sense of humor, which Saki's stories always are very much famous. So what happens? It's a very classical short story, which is known for its wit, irony, and unexpected twist. This story is set in the English countryside. It follows Mr. Frampton Nuttall, a nervous man who is seeking rest, who wants rest because who has visited the home of Mrs. Sapleton. Before meeting Mrs. Sapleton, Mr. Frampton is entertained by her mischievous niece, that is Vera, who spins a very haunting story about the tragic disappearance of Mrs. Sapleton's husband and brothers. So the story plays the theme of deception and appearances. It also delivers a surprise ending that leaves the readers both amused and impressed by Vera's cunning imagination. So that's about The Open Window, story by Saki H. Munro. Now we have the third lesson, The Night Train at Dioli by Ruskin Bond. So Ruskin Bond, a famous short story writer, and this also very interesting story. And this story beautifully captures the themes of fleeting moments, unfulfilled desires, and the transitory nature of life. The story is set in a small, quiet station named Dioli, and this story is told from the perspective of a young narrator reflecting on an experience from his youth. That's about the story, The Night Train at Dioli by Ruskin Bond. Then the lesson number 4, Sporting Spirit by George Orwell. Orwell, who is known for his essays and for his stories as well as the essays. So this essay is written by George Orwell in 1945, where he critically examines the nature of sports, particularly international competitions. He argues that sports, rather than fostering goodwill and friendly competition among nations, also lead to the heightened nationalism, tribalism, and even animosity. So this is the theme of the essay Sporting Spirit by George Orwell. Then we have the lesson number 5, Reunion by John Cheever. Reunion, it's a short story by John Cheever, which was first published in 1962. It's a very brief but very poignant story which explores the themes of family relationships, disappointment, and the impact of parental behavior on a child. And John Cheever, is known for his ability to depict the suburban life and the emotional complexities that lie beneath the surface. And Reunion is a perfect example of his skill in crafting character-driven narratives. So that's about Reunion, the famous story by John Cheever. Next we have here Who Can Be Called a Great Man. So it's an extract from the address Ranate, Gandhi and Jinnah by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar on the 101st birth anniversary of Mahadev Govind Ranate, which was held on 18 January 1943. In this address, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar formulates threefold metrics, which he calls as a test to measure the greatness of a great man. He argues that sincerity, intellect, and the willingness to serve the society in its hours of crisis are the important elements which distinguish the great man from the eminent man. So that's a brief introduction about the extract titled Who Can Be Called a Great Man by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Now we have second last lesson, Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou. So Phenomenal Woman is one of Maya Angelou's most iconic and celebrated poems, which was first published in 1978 collection And Still I Rise. That was the name of the collection of poetry. And this poem is known for its empowering message. The poem is bold declaration of self-confidence, inner beauty, feminine strength. Unlike the traditional portrayals of beauty, which focus on outward appearances or conventional standards, Maya Angelou's poem celebrates the unique qualities that make a woman phenomenal. Her self assuredness, presence, and the way she carries herself in the world. That's about Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou, the famous poem. Last lesson under prose and poetry component, The Happy Man by Edgar Albert Guest. So Edgar Albert Guest was an English-born poet who spent much of his life in America, and he's often known as the people's poet due to his highly relatable, optimistic poems on everyday life. To this day, his work appears in the periodicals and is loved by the readers of all the ages. So, The Happy Man is a poem by this great poet, is also referred as the people's poet, we can also say here. So, his poems are always characterized, we can say, by optimism, making him as a beloved figure among the American readers. So that's about these 8 chapters of prose and poetry section, which has the weightage for 50 marks. So I'm about to do, or mostly by the time you watch or your examination approaches, I would have completed the summary of all those lessons. So you can, in a very short days, in a few days, you can find all the summaries of all the lessons, videos, summary of all the lessons. I mean to say the videos of all the lesson summary you can see in my playlist. Now we are moving to the second section of your syllabus, that is the language component, which refers to 30 marks. So 50 marks prose and poetry, 30 marks language component. So the total weightage of a question paper will be 80 marks and 20 marks will be for the internal assessment. So under language component, very first, traditionally, you have the comprehension passage. You need to read the passage and you need to answer the questions set on the passage. That's going to develop your reading skills. Then the second topic, to develop your listening skill, you have few sub themes of listening skill: definition of listening, difference between listening and hearing, types of listening, barriers to listening, and how to overcome those barriers. Third topic under language component, you have here language functions. So here you will be learning how to introduce yourself to somebody and how to introduce somebody to the other person, and how to make an inquiry and how to give some instructions. These are the language functions. Then you have few important elements of grammar like concord. Concord means subject verb agreement, tense, then phrases, then clauses. So these are the four important components of grammar you are going to study in the first BBA General English as the language component. Finally, the last topic of the language component is here to develop a writing skill. You have a topic speech writing, and here you will be learning how to draft a welcome speech, how to draft farewell speech, and how to draft vote of thanks. So this is about the 30 marks component, language component. So let's have a glance at the marks, how the marks are divided. So the first section is your prose and poetry. Here you will be having here 2 marks, 5 questions. Then you have your 2 questions, 5 marks. Then 2 questions for 10 marks. So prose and poetry here refers to 50 marks. Language component, 30 marks. Comprehension passage, 5 marks. Questions on listening skills, definition, types, barriers, how to overcome. Five questions you will be getting here. Introduction, making inquiry, giving instructions, 5 marks questions. Do as directed means to say the grammar, concord, tense, phrase, clauses, which have the weightage for 10 marks. Speech writing, you have your 3 types of speeches, and the speech writing has the weightage for 5 marks. So friends, this is how I have tried to give you an overview of the complete syllabus of first semester BBA General English under Bangalore University from the year 2024. It's a new syllabus. So maybe in the few days, you can also find all the lessons videos on my playlist on my YouTube channel. So friends, stay connected with my channel. If you are not yet subscribed my channel, please do subscribe the channel, like the video, share the video to your friends. If you have any queries, any questions, anything about notes, etc., you can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. The email ID is easily visible on the screen. Thank you so much for watching this video.